Welcome back to the Week Huddle podcast. I am your host, Owen, and today is the NFL Combine testing. It begins. And before we go watch a bunch of guys in spandex work out for 20 hours combined over the next 4 days, I'm going to hit you my list of every single player, I think, one from each position, that I think will test the best or will come out of this weekend with people talking about how well they tested. I personally believe the Combine is more of a interview process one, and that's where all the real important information for teams is gathered, which we've gotten some news back from those interviews so far this weekend, mostly quarterback related. But I think athletically, that's what the media and everyone likes to focus on. So to fit with the media, fit with the algorithm, I'm going to put out this list and have it come out the morning of the Combine. So these are my best athletic performers from every position. Starting out, I think this one's kind of obvious. I originally had Derek King here, but for quarterbacks, I have Malik Willis, one of the best athletes come out of the quarterback position in the last 3-4 draft classes. He's gonna probably, if he runs the 40, he'll run it probably. My guess is a low 4.5, maybe a high 4.4. If he runs a high 4.4, I'll be really, really impressed. He'll probably come in around 210. I don't know what his measurements were, but a 4.4 from 215 guy, that'd be really impressive. I just expect him to test really well athletically overall. I think in the field workouts, he'll probably be pop 2 just because there's not a lot of pressure, and he'll have a lot of these guys who are better receivers working with him. But just athletic-wise, outside of Derek King, maybe Desmond Ridder, but I'd really put Malik Willis in his own tier of his own when it comes to an all-around athletic profile. So I think Malik Willis will be the best athletic testing quarterback this coming Combine. That one was kind of easy. Let's switch it up to running backs right now. This one's going to be difficult because you have Jerome Ford, who's pretty fast. You have a guy like Brian Robinson, who's going to put a lot up on the bench. There's going to be a lot of guys that can possibly run away with this, but I'm going to go with a dark horse here. I'm going to go with Treston Ebner, running back out of Baylor. He is just so good. He's so fantastic. He has the speed. I think he'll be like a 4.4 kind of guy, a 4.3 maybe. He's really fast, really quick twitch. He'll probably be super explosive and test well in both of the vertical and long jump tests. I don't know if his height and weight are going to be all that impressive, but I know that as an athletic profile, he'll be up there with the best. He'll be in the top percentiles of every single thing besides maybe the bench press. So I'm really excited to see how he tests, and I think he'll run away with some of the higher marks, and a lot of people are going to talk about him as some guy who nobody knew who he was before the Combine, comes in, tests really well, and then leaving the Combine, everyone's like, well, who is this guy? And then start, looking at him as maybe a 4th, 3rd round pick kind of guy just because of how he tested. For wide receiver, I have Treylon Burks just because through 6'3", 200-something pounds, he's going to run a 4.3, 4.4. He's going to be able to put up a lot in the bench press. I'm excited to see what he does in the height, the jump, what's called high jump. That's what it's called. I'm excited to see what he does in high jump because if he can have a really good vertical along with all those other measurables and speed, we're looking at a DK Metcalf style profile here, but probably more agility wise, he'll probably do better in the 20-yard shuttle and the 3-cone than DK Metcalf did. He typically struggled in that. So I'm excited to see how he tests. He could be up there as one of the more impressive wide receiver testings, up there with Chase Claypool, DK Metcalf, those kind of guys who tested phenomenally and got a really big boost to their stock because of the Combine. And even then, Burks is already talked about as in the contention for wide receiver 1. I had him as wide receiver 1 in my most recent mock draft that you can check out on Keel Pro's YouTube channel. He could probably even go and jump and be the first person taken. I know there's a lot of Drake London talk, Jameson Williams, even though he got hurt. He was the number 1 wide receiver pick, maybe some Garrett Wilson, Garrett Wilson is still my number 1 receiver on my board, but I could make the argument, and I have made the argument in the past, that Treylon Burks could go first before Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson's he's less athletically gifted than Burks, which is why I think he's going to do better combine-wise. And Wilson fits a lot of different styles and a lot of different offenses, where Burks, you have to gimmick him touches and things like that. So if Burks can come out and give us a Chase Claypool, DK Metcalf level of combine test, then he definitely could be in the contention for maybe unanimous number 1 overall wide receiver. I might have to go back and reevaluate some of his tape if he runs a low 4.3 kind of thing. At tight end, I was kind of stuck here because I just got caught up with my tight ends recently. So I made this list right before I got caught up with my tight ends, then caught up with my tight ends. And I think the guy who I think is probably the most underrated athlete of tight ends and may be able to come out and test really well beyond what people are expecting is Greg Dulcich from UCLA. I was so impressed with his tape when I got to it. The run after catch ability, the ability just to get loose downfield. He's not the most agile guy, but he put some oomph in his blocks. Maybe he got owned a little bit by Kayvon Thibodeau, but a lot of offensive tackles get owned by Kayvon Thibodeau. So I expect him to come in, be able to put some reps up on the bench press, probably like in the 20s, and then also run decently as well and do some good things in the agility drills. So I think he's going to come around and be one of the best all-around athletes at the position, if not the best all-around athlete at the position, and really get a boost to his stock for that. And like I already have him as like a third-round pick, but I could definitely see people taking him or valuing him in the second round just because of how good of a receiver he was, how much effort he put into his blocks, and if he puts up good numbers on the bench press, they may be valued even higher now. So I like Greg Dulcich's, I'm almost saying that right. Dulcich. There's no L there. Or is there an L? Hold on. I don't want to be doing this guy wrong, because I fucking love him. I love this tape. Let me just make sure I'm not doing my boy dirty. Hold on. But overall, I think he's going to have a great testing day, and I'm really excited to see what he runs. Let me just double check here if I got his spelling right when I wrote this down in the middle of work day. I wrote this down. God, I gotta sort this better. There is an L. I rolled it right. I miswrote it. Dulcich. I was right. Okay. Go with your gut, Owen. Go with your gut. Not what you wrote down randomly in the middle of the day. But yeah, Greg Dulcich. Keep an eye on him. He'll probably test well. Offensive line. I incorporated interior alignment and offensive tackles just because there's so many different ones this could be. And I'm definitely going Tyler Linderbaum. Overall, best mover I've ever seen on the offensive line. Like, Mekhi Becton was impressive just because of his size. But Linderbaum's going to test ridiculously, and I think he's going to put up pretty good numbers on the bench press as well, and it's going to make people reevaluate, even if he comes in lighter, like, oh, well, he put up 30 to 40 on the bench press. Does that even matter if he's 290? He still can lift. He's still strong. He's still able to out-leverage guys, and he's super fast, and he's super quick, and he's super agile. He's explosive. I just think people are undervaluing Tyler Linderbaum because of his size, and he's going to come out there, be a absolute beast at all of these drills, and I think he's going to come out and people are going to start talking about that top 10, top 5 consideration. I still have been on him for that high up in the draft class, but like a lot of people were like, nah, I wouldn't take a center that high, this, that. No, I think he's definitely valued worth that. He's definitely top 5 on my board. So when he comes out and proves to everybody that he's athletically gifted enough to go that high, they'll reconsider it. At edge, I was really tempted to go Kayvon Thibodeau or maybe like a Nick Bonitto, just because those guys have such rare traits. Like Thibodeau's strength and burst, and Paetono, right? Is that how you say his name? Nick Paetono, something like that, from Oklahoma. He is one of the best first steps I've ever seen, but he's like also 200, maybe even sub 200 as an edge rusher, as a linebacker kind of prospect. So you kind of expect that from him. I ended up going with Kingsley Enagbare. He kind of showed out a little bit at the Senior Bowl, but when I first saw him back in September, it was like he was so raw pass rusher wise, but his impressive athleticism just popped so hard, and I was like, why is nobody talking about him? Because he has great first step, great strength, good just overall movement skills for somebody his size. So I was like, okay, he's definitely an athletic freak, and he's probably going to be one of the better testers in the edge group, stacked with great athletes. So I think Enagbare has a chance to come out of nowhere and really test well and be one of the top of the class athleticism-wise for this edge group, and maybe bring himself into some first-round conversations after this combine. So, I mean, I wouldn't bat an eye at it. I don't have him graded as a first-round pick, but if he tests insane, then I'm not going to argue with it. At D-tackle, it's a little bit of a cheat because I can see him as qualifying as an edge player, but DeMarvin Leal, he's a little lighter than everybody else, and people are going to put like Devontae White here. I don't really see that. Like, he has some explosive plays on tape, but like DeMarvin Leal just has like that athletic profile. It's a dream for D tackles, and maybe Jordan Davis, but that's again, it's like a relative one where like Mekhi Becton tested, his numbers weren't that great, but if you put it in perspective of how big he is, then yeah, Jordan Davis could probably come out and do good. He's probably going to do great in the 10-yard section of the 40-yard dash, but DeMarvin Leal just has this amazing athletic profile. He's probably training for this because he knows his stock has fell from this past season. So he knows that he has to come out and kill this combine. I think he's been working hard at it. He's just that kind of guy, and I think Dorian Ray should come out and smash this really hard. And I'm really excited to see how he runs, and especially with his agility drills, if he can come out and show that quickness and that agility and speed and burst. If people will look back at his tape and be like, yeah, maybe we overreacted a little bit. I'm not, me included, that maybe he just had a down season, and he can go back to his 2020 form. At linebacker, I kind of cheated out here. I put two guys. I put a slash, only because I heard some stuff recently last week that I thought really would impact this. But first off, my first pick, the one I put it on instinctively, was Brandon Smith, linebacker out of Penn State. He is like 220, 230, and he's been rumored to run like a 4.4. And it's going to be insane if he does. Like, that's who's Isaiah Simmons level athleticism there, and he got drafted in the top 10 for that reason. Like, I could have saw Isaiah Simmons falling out of the top 10 until he tested super well at the combine, and I'm expecting that level of testing from Brandon Smith, even though he's in the second round for me. He fell out of first round contention a while back, but he's going to be an athletic freak, and everyone knows it. But I also want to throw in Leo Chenal, linebacker from Wisconsin, just because people have been floating around that he's going to put up like 40 plus reps on the bench press, which I've already had him as like a tweener between an edge rusher and a linebacker. If he puts up 40 reps on the bench press, it'll make me feel a lot better putting him just as a straight up edge rusher. If I'm a 3-4 defense kind of guy, so like I think that if Leo Chenal goes out there and shows off some strength and can maybe improve his agility drills a little bit, I think I'd be much more comfortable drafting him as scheme versatile or as just an edge rusher straight up. So that was just something, a little nugget I heard over the past week or so, and I had to throw in. Cornerback, I was going to put Derek Stingley, and then right before I recorded this, or the day before I recorded this, he announced he's not going to be testing and wait till his pro day because he wants to be 100% healthy. I totally get that. He's probably one of the best athletes we've ever seen at the position. I had to rebound and look away, and find someone else. I know people were talking about Woodley. It's because he runs a really fast 40 time. But I'm going to go Kyler Gordon, another guy who's super underrated athleticism. When I saw it on tape, he didn't look that athletic, but from what I'm hearing, he's going to run a great 40 time. And I know he's going to have a good vertical and a great agility test because of just what I've seen on film. But like the speed, I didn't really get there. So if he can come out and run like a 4.3 and show that he can keep stride for stride in this NFL league that are getting faster and faster wide receivers, I think that he could really boost his stock and maybe break into that, be the sixth. That's crazy. I'm thinking the sixth cornerback drafted in the first round because I think the top 5 are locks for first, but like there's room for somebody else to jump in there, and I think Kyler Gordon could be that guy. And finally, this one's no surprise. Safety, Daxton Hill. He's an athletic freak, 5-star athlete. People have been talking up his athleticism before the season, this past college season even started. That's why he was looked at so fondly before the season started, and he came in and showed that he can play down in the slot and the man coverage and things like that. And if you're going to be a man coverage slot player or even as like a deep safety, you need range, and he's going to show some range. I'm telling you, you just watch and see Daxton Hill run, and it's going to be insane. Just remember his size too when he runs too, because he's not a small safety prospect. He's not 5'8", 185. He is 6 foot, like almost 200 pounds, over 200 pounds. And he's going to fly. If of all these guys that I think could break the 4-yard break into the 4.2s, Daxton Hill might be that guy. Like if I had to pick anybody on this list that I have here that could potentially, like Treston Ebner's going to run fast. So is Kyler Gordon, but like Daxton Hill, from what everyone's talking about, I think he could maybe hit 4.29 or something like that. That would be insane. If he does, instant first round lock. I guarantee it. But yeah, that's just a quick little list of who I think is going to perform the best at each position at the combine, or at least who we'll be talking about it once the combine finishes up, and we have to actually sit down and be like, okay, who won the combine, who had the best athleticism, and look at like who's in the 99th percentile, things like that. I think these are the guys that are going to come out and pop, and their names are going to be in those lists of when you look at the top 10 each from by position in each different test. So if you enjoyed this and want to check out any of that stuff, I'm working on a new iceberg video. I'm hopefully going to have that out before the draft. Obviously, I'm hard at work in school and doing a bunch of stuff with the Dynasty Index. I think I have like 160-something players scouted now. Hoping to have 22 offensive tackles done by the end of this week. So check that out. Hit up Keel Pro on Twitter or his Gmail, and then subscribe to that. Check it out. You only need to do 1 month for $3, and I think if you get the 1 month for $3, it won't get you to the draft. But like if you do 2 months for $6, something like that, or you get the whole year for $20, you'll have basically this draft and then most of the next draft season covered if you get the 1 year now. So go hit them up, check it out. It's only $20. It's not that insane of a price, especially for a year-long subscription. So other than that, I'll just check you guys out in my next episode of the Weekly Huddle podcast. It's really the Monthly Huddle podcast at this point, but you know what? School's been rough, so I'll check you guys in the next episode.